Santa's watching, Santa's waiting, Christmas Eve is slowly fading. Can you hear him in the night? Close the door, turn out the light. Santa's watching, Santa's creeping, now you're nodding, now you're sleeping. Were you good for Mom and Dad? Santa knows if you've been bad.
Season's greetings and welcome to the movie graveyard. Hello everyone, this is your old pal the GOAT, and I'm happy to be presenting you a real holiday treat. That's right, this year for 2018, we got Byrd's Holiday Spectacular. And without further ado, I will not keep you away from the man of the hour. Welcome to his own holiday special, Byrd. Byrd, how you doing on this festive night?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I feel like my allergies have been getting the best of me lately.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not bad.
Good. That's good to hear. Are you having a good holiday season? Have you took care of all your gifting duties and whatnot? Is the stress gone?
I'm mostly done with Christmas shopping, and believe it or not, this is like kind of around the same time, maybe a little earlier even than I'm usually done. I'm so bad at, like, I don't do the get everyone's presents a month and a half early thing. Like, I always wait till the last minute because it's like in my blood. But you know, I don't go anywhere either, though. So I just do all my Christmas shopping online because I don't want to go. Who wants to go anywhere?
Yeah, like I felt the stress a little bit, but I was happy. Like pretty much I'm done except for just wrapping. Usually I'm one of those guys who's mailing out everybody's Christmas cards on the evening of the 23rd, knowing they won't get there. So I was happy last night on the evening of the 19th to get the Christmas cards out that I needed to get out. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good this year.
Yeah, I'm glad it's like there's a few people I need to get still, but I don't know. I'll stop somewhere tomorrow and figure something out.
Yeah. Most
of my Christmas presents are improvised.
Yeah, I think that's
like, that's a thing here.
I always like the gifts where it's the thought that counts. Like, I'll take something more off the wall, but if somebody puts some thought into it, I'll appreciate it more.
Right, yeah.
And you know what? I'm truly one of those people that, to me, there's no such thing as a bad gift. Like, I will take anything you got for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, I agree there.
So, Byrd, in the old tradition of the old ways, I gotta ask you, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Diet Coke.
Ooh, not a very exotic choice.
No.
I am rolling with the El Mexicano brand coconut water.
Oh my god, that stuff's... Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Usually it's like pretty sweet. For some reason, this can taste like mashed potatoes. I don't know why. It like tastes like liquid mashed potatoes to me.
I'm not really into coconut anything, but yeah, coconut water is just, I can't do it.
Have you ever tried the El Mexicano? It comes in the tall, like, blue can.
No.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's got a lot of, like, of the little chunks, like, floating at the bottom. So when you get to the bottom, it's almost like you have a snack, you know what I mean?
That just sounds wrong.
It does sound wrong. But before we get started on the holiday festivities, let's talk about something that apparently can't get any righter. I want you to talk a little bit about, to the world, how much you love this film. And you actually say people who have not seen this film yet are cucks. That was your phrase. Tell everybody, just, no spoilers, but just tell everybody just your emotional impressions of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse
Oh
film.
yeah, no. I mean, like you, Spider-Man is just one of my all-time favorite characters in any medium. And like you, even though I think we heavily disagree on the movies we have, you know, enjoyed in the Spider-Man, movie.
Yeah, almost
Um,
polar opposites.
right. But one thing we do have in common is that we're both very picky about what we
Right.
like in a Spider-Man movie. Um, but the yes, Into the Spider-Verse for me hit all the marks that a Spider-Man should, and we get various versions of Spider-Man from different universes, but the movie it does a really good job of keeping Miles Morales as the core, who's a character I have never read a single comic book with this character.
Yeah, I hate him
I
personally, but
yeah, walked in completely cold to him, but
yeah,
the movie did a really good job of making him relatable, and Peter Parker, the version that we get throughout the course of most of the movie, I also found relatable. It kind of makes me feel my age a little bit, because instead of relating to like awkward teenage Peter,
yeah,
or Miles in this case, I'm relating to like out of shape, schlubby, made poor life decisions, midlife crisis Peter.
yeah,
But no, I mean it was just a really fun time, and I thought that it nailed the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man more than probably any of the live action versions, I thought. But it really gives you an arc for these characters, and I was not really expecting it to do that, really.
yeah. It really looked like in Sony Pictures Animation, they have made some fun movies over the years. I thought the first Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was actually
Yeah,
pretty
I like
good.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't see the second one. But
second one's not near the level of the first one, in my opinion.
animation style was really interesting, and I was reading like how they intentionally like took out a bunch, like they intentionally like cut out, like I don't want to say half because I don't know the exact amount, and that might be an exaggeration, but they took out a crap ton of frames, so the
Right,
frame rate, they almost move like stop motion, but I guess the idea is it's kind of subliminally supposed to evoke the idea of like flipping through comic pages, and I don't
right.
know, it was just a lot of creative stuff like that you haven't really seen, just aesthetically from an animated movie. And then Trev brought up the point of like, we're so obsessed with wanting to see all these things in live action. Why? But like, why? Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
no real
agree.
reason for it. And honestly, like when we think back, like, oh, Batman the animated series, Mask of the Phantasm, like is like these holy grails of Batman media outside the comics.
Right.
It's like that's like I almost think animation might be like, if they did more things like this, it could be like the preferred format to see this stuff.
Yeah, and I really think, especially with the comic book to animated film adaptations, to me, I mean, nothing is more Spider-Man out of anything that's ever been produced than the old Ralph Bakshi Spider-Man 68 or whatever it was cartoon. So I mean, I feel like with these characters, I mean, it's literally a moving cart. It's a moving illustration, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
definitely
since Marvel and Netflix are too dumb, this
hmm
we actually get a feature film where with Spider-Man, where the Kingpin is the main villain.
exactly.
Because even though we have a great live action Spider-Man and Kingpin, they're too dumb, and that it's all connected stuff was all bullshit. So we're never going to see
Yeah.
that in the movie. I would love to see Tom Holland and Vincent D'Onofrio fight in a Spider-Man movie, but that's not going to happen.
Speaking of that, I think it's only a matter of time before all the Netflix Marvel shows are canceled, and then Marvel pretty much says, well, the movies are canon to the TV shows, but the
But the
TV
TV,
shows aren't canon to them. And like,
That's kind of how it already felt, really.
Yeah, it did. It did. Like I did appreciate, especially in I want to say Daredevil season 1, that there was a storyline of the Kingpin trying to cash in on the rebuilding of New York and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like yeah, the TV shows never really. And to be honest, like I mean, even though like I like Charlie Cox and everything, I thought he did a pretty good job. I'm just a big Daredevil fan as well, and I want to see a Daredevil movie. I want to see Daredevil in the MCU. I don't know. Like I feel like we need, especially in the Avengers styles movies, we need more hands-on beat 'em up characters like Black Widow and Hawkeye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess the Netflix deal, Marvel can't do anything with those characters for 2 more years anyway. So they're just going to languish in, I don't know, limbo until then.
I didn't read the article, but I saw a clickbait headline that supposedly a Marvel executive was saying, or maybe a Disney person in relation to the Disney streaming service, that it's not impossible that those characters might not show up ever again in a future TV series. But by the time Disney whatever streaming gets started, I think all those shows will just have lost all their like whatever anyway, and you might as well just recast, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, that whole "it's all connected" thing was crap anyway.
Yeah.
Because they could barely say any. The green guy, like they can't even say the Hulk.
I know.
The guy with the hammer. The incident. I mean, the invasion of New York is in the movies they call it the Chitauri invasion, and the shows they call it the incident.
Yeah, in the shows, it's like they act like nobody like ever saw an alien. You know, there's like if you watch the end of the Avengers movie, there's like aliens holding people hostage in train stations and shit.
Yeah.
Like, was it like the Lee Harvey Oswald like Kennedy assassination, where like all the people that were there that day suddenly died 7 years later or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, getting back to the animated Spider-Verse film, I have to say, like, it really caught me off guard, like, all the different reactions and stuff. And
well, I had no, like, I was going to see it just because I love Spider-Man, and I was like, okay, the trailer is intriguing enough, whatever. And, I don't know, I went in completely cold, and I left just like, oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite things I've seen this year. And I wasn't expecting that.
Right. Yeah, just really the reactions everybody like took me from you know, because like I guess my fear from the trailers and even after the long whatever scene at the end of Venom, because they showed like a long ass scene at the end credits of Venom. I guess I just was like, I wanted to see it because it was Spider-Man, but I kind of had like the fear that, you know, because the trailers make it seem like it's like really could be a kid centric movie, and just hearing like all the reactions of people and knowing that it is a quote unquote real movie, to the point like I've seen people saying it like not even best animated film, just best picture period, it deserves to be nominated. Like it's definitely piqued my interest, you know. And I haven't and it's like I don't think I've seen one person, you know, who either on a podcast, a website, or even just people that I personally know. Out of the people I know have seen it, I haven't seen one person be like, meh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Aquaman was the holiday season film I was like all pumped up for, and now everybody's having the not negative, I wouldn't say, but everybody's having the middle of the road reaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I will say, I mean, Spider-Man, I mean, it is a really good movie, you know, for kids, but I don't think it's any more like kiddie or watered down than the other Spider-Man movies we've had. It's just animated. But yeah, the Aquaman was weird because like the pre-release buzz, like I was pretty much ready to go this weekend. And then like people I know started seeing it, and then like more word of mouth started coming out from other people that have seen it, and they were like, this isn't that good. So I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point, but I don't know. I don't really care much anymore. It's weird because the pre-release buzz was like really strong, and like I was starting to get convinced, like, oh, this might be another like thing like Wonder Woman, where it's going to take everyone by surprise, and a lot of people are just like, it's not.
Well,
it's okay at best, is what I keep hearing.
The early buzz and the overseas buzz definitely was on that Wonder Woman type level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, once it hit here, I feel like I don't know if jaded is the right enough word, but I feel like American moviegoers, when it comes to comic book movies, they put things more in context. Like, whereas I feel like the overseas audiences, if like you look at the grosses of these types of films, like the overseas audience is just like, they show up with their bucket of popcorn and they're ready to be entertained. And as long as you put on a show, big spectacle, they're going to enjoy it. Whereas I feel the American audience, for whatever reason, like they want more of a balance of the spectacle and the story. Like they actually want these films, I guess to some degree, to actually function as dramas as well. I mean, do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, and I at this point, I just feel, I'm just surprised they don't seem to understand that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think if you look at it, like, if we all know, for people who don't know, which I'm sure everybody knows, DC is owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers makes all these films. And I think if you look back at something like even like 10 years ago, or how long ago it was that Speed Racer came out, like Speed Racer was like a bomb movie in terms of box office, but it made a ton of money merchandise-wide, like worldwide. So I almost think that Warner Brothers is designing these films to play more to the international audience than they are to us, whereas I feel Marvel is more balancing it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like Marvel is taking more.
Marvel, I think, like, Marvel operates a very much like a TV show, where it's run by the same people every time, and things are laid out in advance, and the people that sign on to do it, just like TV show directors, they know they're playing in someone else's sandbox. Whereas Warner Brothers, like, I don't even know if all these DC movies share the same main producers. Like, it just feels like they're just, whoever the president of the studio is like, oh, hey, you and you're in charge of this thing, and you're in charge of this thing, and it's do something with it kind of thing.
Well, I mean, there's definitely been, I want to say, more from the comic book fan side of things. There's definitely been like a way more mixed reaction or negative reaction to the DC movies. But I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like the executives or whatever in charge, like, because of that negative reaction, and pretty much, I mean, I think all the DC films were profitable, even Justice League.
Oh yeah,
I think was profitable. It just, I think with all these DC movies, it's like, okay, they've all done roughly between, in the ballpark of like 600 to 800 million. But I think they're going through a lot of turnover with executives, directors, writers, producers, because they're like, okay, that's great that we did whatever 650 million on Justice League, but I want to get the motherfuckers in here that are going to do $1 billion. So I think, like you said, that's why they don't have the continuity that Marvel has,
Yeah.
And sometimes I want to. What's your opinion on this, Byrd? Is like for the hardcore comic book fans, or even the people who I would even say watch the DC TV shows, like Warner Brothers with the movies kind of can do no right. Like, everybody's hypercritical. But do you think, in just a what if scenario, if the MCU never launched, or an MCU didn't exist, I mean, to think that we would never have had, an Iron Man, a Captain America, Civil War, or not Civil War, but Winter Soldier. We would never had the Avengers. Like, if Marvel wouldn't have taken it to this high level, do you think people would still be this upset about these DC movies? Because I really think it's the fact that people are comparing them to the Marvel movies. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna say I don't think it would make too much of a difference, and that's for one reason, is because I remember before the MCU, and we had a lot of movies that, in my opinion, were of equal quality to a lot of the DC movies. Like, that's when we were we had the Fantastic Fours and the Ghost Riders and the Daredevil, and all those to me are like, no better or worse than Suicide Squad or something, which is a way of me saying, yeah, they're not good. And back then it was like, okay, we have the Sam Raimi Spider-Man or the Bryan Singer X-Men or Blade, and then the other end of the spectrum is Ghost Rider or Daredevil. And I think Marvel just has a certain formula. At the worst can be watchable and incredibly generic and not leave an impression, like Ant-Man and the Wasp or something.
Right.
And at best can be something like, Winter Soldier, where, it is one of the best of ones. But if there was no Marvel MCU, I don't know if these Warner Brothers movies would be making as much money, first of all. I think the MCU, whether you're on the side of quote unquote side, I hate that. I don't know why people can't just enjoy the genre.
Right.
But without the MCU, I don't think there would be as much interest in a DC universe. So I don't know if these would even be made. I know like the Nolan Batman movies kind of like got more people into the superhero stuff, but I don't know like if there would be an Aquaman, and if there was, it would probably be looked at like people looked at something like Rise of the Silver Surfer or whatever.
Right. Well, just the fact that Aquaman was literally a long-running gag on the show Entourage, and like now, and like it was like the way they treated Aquaman on Entourage was like, it was like a joke. It was like a parody of, how ridiculous the comic book genre of films is. And then here we are like 10 years after that, and there's like actually a real Aquaman movie coming out in theaters. It's kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where they go, because I don't know. It seems like every day there's another project announced, and then the next day another project's dropped. And I know we got Shazam after this, and then after that, I know there's a bunch of scripts ready, but I don't. Right. That doesn't mean anything in Hollywood.
I think maybe Birds of Prey might finally be real. I think
I could see. Yeah, I think that one might get there, but like Nightwing, no one knows what's going on with Batman. We have a standalone Joker movie that's outside of continuity.
Yeah, it's Joker.
It's kind of just everywhere.
It is everywhere. I'm a fan of both. I think at this point maybe I'm not necessarily a bigger fan of the DC films, because as far as just based on character per character, I actually like Marvel characters more. Just always have. But the DC movies, I don't know, to me, like they're more surprising sometimes, for better or for worse. Like they sometimes come with a weird approach, and I don't know. And I like that the DC movies kind of remind me of the superhero movies of the 90s, whereas the Marvel ones are like definitely more up to date, I would say.
Yeah.
Just like how I can watch Godzilla 98 because it makes me nostalgic for 90s blockbusters, But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and I think really, because I think for years, Byrd, we were just waiting for there to be superhero fatigue, and there really never was. But I think
yeah, that and zombies every year. People fatigue, are like, yeah.
Like it's done.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and then people never get tired. But I think for me, because I own every imaginable live action Marvel, MCU, or DC, and I own the original Superman movies and all the Batman movies. But the only movie I don't own, and I still haven't watched yet, is from the X-Men series, was Wolverine, the last one, or Logan, I guess. No, Logan? Yeah, Logan. And like for the longest time, like I couldn't put my finger on like, why do I not want to go see this movie? And then it was like, why do I not want to rent this movie? Why do I not, like, I own every single other X-Men movie, even the ones I hate. I was like, how come I haven't bought this yet? And it's literally just you know, I want to say probably since Days of Future Past come out, like I didn't have superhero fatigue or even X-Men fatigue. I had Wolverine fatigue.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
like yeah,
yeah,
and like I watched like long chunks of Logan on cable, like 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. It's an entertaining movie. Like I'm not gonna shit on it and say it looks shitty or I don't want to watch it. But it's just like at the end of the day, it all comes back to it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine for the 12th time to me. So I could see myself possibly, with these series, because I kind of have Iron Man fatigue too, because like Downey has put such his stamp on the character, and I feel like he kind of plays it the same way in every movie that he's in.
Well, I feel like that there's a calculated end to that, whereas Wolverine, I mean, once the Disney thing gets rolling, we'll see that recast. Like it's the same as Batman. Like how many we had so much Batman from what Begins through Suicide Squad. Justice League, right? Like that it like how much more Batman can there even be possible? Like that Wolverine and Batman are by far the most overexposed, overdone superheroes. I loved Logan, but I mean, to me, that should just be the end of any live action Wolverine for another 10 to 15 years. And it was a good ending. It was an ending that fit for the character. Let's leave it at that for a while. But they're going to get Logan back as soon as they do something with the X-Men.
Yeah, I feel like there's never going to really be a time when the X-Men are going to be making movies and Wolverine is not involved somehow. I mean, probably the closest they got to getting away from the character, I want to say, is probably First Class, and even then they still had to have at least a humorous cameo.
Yep. Yeah, and the only movies that he's going to have nothing to do with is going to be, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, the two that aren't out yet. Because even the Deadpool movies reference him constantly.
Oh, yeah. It's like they're constantly suckling on the teeth. Speaking of which, what's your opinion, yay or nay, on Once Upon a Deadpool? The PG-13 recut of Deadpool 2 that is being framed as a Christmas movie now somehow.
Nay. I've heard like the little segments, the new segments are fun, and I believe it. But I put that up as like a short on the internet. They're calling it an experiment, but
experiment in what? Like selling out, repurposing something? Like what?
How many people even knew that was Deadpool 2 recut going in?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I find that shady too.
I mean, we read articles, like we're not Joe Schmo audience. Like, is Joe Schmo audience going to buy a ticket and be like, "Wait a minute, I saw this. Only it's dumber now." Like, I don't even understand it from the standpoint of like, oh, kids can see it now, because any kid that was gonna see Deadpool 2 already saw it.
Right.
The parents that didn't want them seeing it when it was rated R, probably they're still not gonna let them see it now.
Well, I don't even understand like the whole thing of like, well, now kids can see it, and this is an experiment. I've seen some articles try to like be like, well, this is an experiment to see if a PG-13 Deadpool can work. It's like for what though? There's not going to be a Deadpool 3. Like, it's done. Like, Fox is sold to Disney. Like,
well, if Disney wants to do a Deadpool, like, I mean, even if you look at Deadpool comics, he doesn't have to be rated R all the time.
Well, even if he did, it's like this current iteration, R rating, Ryan Reynolds, that's done. It's over with. Ryan Reynolds is even saying it's like there probably won't be a Deadpool 3. So, I mean, it's like, what is this experiment for? I totally think it's like a cash grab. And it is cool that they're donating, I think it's $1 out of every ticket sold to cancer. So, I mean, I'm not going to shit on that, but I mean, that's secondary. I think it's a cash grab, to try to boost the end of year revenues, whatever, for the outgoing execs that they know are going to be fired by Disney once the deal is done.
Yeah, I just don't think the audience that missed out on Deadpool 2 because of the R rating is big enough to justify this.
And I especially think it's dumb to do it after Deadpool 2 has already come out on video. If the window, and that's the thing is, like, I originally was going to go.
Why not just put this out as a DVD extra?
Right. Yeah,
something.
like I mean, I was willing to go see this, but then like the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I just bought Deadpool 2 on Black Friday, which it has an extended cut that, so I'm like, well, if it's like, how do I want to watch Deadpool 2 for the second time? Do I want to watch the PG-13? And everybody's like, oh, Fred Savage, Prince. I was like, I don't care about that. Like, who cares, Fred Savage? When was the last time anybody cared about Fred Savage? But it's like, I kind of just rather watch the real extended cut of the real version of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing this, and it's for Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
The movie wasn't that good the first time, I didn't think. So I don't know.
Well, I originally thought they were going to do like a lot of stuff where there's going to be a lot of whole brand new scenes that were deleted, but apparently it really is just like a made for TV censor job. So, but I don't know. I don't mean to be negative here. One thing before we get into the holiday festivities, one more order of business we got to take care of, because this is what me and Trev did on the last holiday special we did in 2016. We didn't have a holiday special in 2017. But it's right for the time. There's nothing going on with it, but at the same time, everything's going on with it. Byrd, we got to talk about Star Wars.
Are we talking the Star Wars holiday special?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's talk about happy third anniversary, which this is the anniversary nobody's talking about. But happy third anniversary to The Force Awakens, highest grossing Star Wars movie of all time. Then also happy 1 year anniversary to The Last Jedi, the most divisive and angry, whatever, hate mob Star Wars film of all time. And also apparently we got to throw in happy birthday to Rian Johnson somehow. I don't know why his birthday mattered. Like, we don't talk about anybody else's birthday in the Star Wars universe, but Rian Johnson's birthday is like new. Like, were people shocked that he was like actually born? Like,
yeah,
like it's like a big deal in Star Wars though, Bert, because like when you watch like The Last Jedi like documentary, like they go out of their way to film his birthday party, and I'm like, who cares? It's not George Lucas's birthday party. It's not Mark Hamill's birthday party. Who fucking cares about one guy that kind of directed one movie in a 12 movie franchise?
I can't believe it's only been a year. The exhausting Last Jedi talk, not just among us, but among the world, has just cemented 2018 as the slowest year ever.
Oh my God.
Because I feel like this movie has been talked about so much that it's been talked about as much as most movies are over the course of like 20 years.
Yeah. It has. And I gotta say at this point, I hate both sides. I originally saw the movie and I was very like middle of the road on it, but it really was all the fighting initially on the side of defending it that pissed me off. And now it's like once we got to about the month 8, month 9 part, like after the film and people were still attacking it, like I've come to hate both sides, and it just like,
well, me too, because like honestly, I mean I don't mind the movie. It's definitely not one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but I don't get what the big deal is either way. I don't get what's so amazingly good or bad about it.
Right. I mean, to me, like, just as, compartmentalizing my feelings, like how I actually feel about the actual movie, to me, it's the end of Star Wars, just meaning the end of the story. Like, there's nowhere else to go. Han's dead, Luke's dead, Leia's dead, even though she's not dead on screen, she's dead. And I'm kind of like, you could go forward with the new characters, but I feel like the conflict between Rey and Kylo was finished too. So like I feel like Ryan, instead of making the part 2 of the trilogy, it felt like to me he made the part 3. Like unless JJ comes along and opens up a whole new can of worms to get me interested, like for better or worse, and I don't like the movie, but just the movie, the story that the movie told, I feel like I have closure on this trilogy. Like I'm done. I'm cool. Like if let's say somehow 9 sucked heinously, I would be fine just saying Last Jedi is like the last, episode 8 is the last Star Wars movie. Like, I don't know. Like I'm just, done with it. Not out of anger, not out of hate, just out of like, I feel like Ryan brought things full circle. When I say I hate this movie, I mean, I hate that it exists and it caused all this shit, if that makes sense.
It's pretty much what the internet would have been like when the internet was around when the Phantom Menace came out, but everyone was on dial-up. No one could yell at each other at the drop of a hat. There was no Twitter.
And even then, not everybody had the internet back then.
Yeah, but I imagine it would have been the same. I don't know. It's crazy to me that a movie that, in my opinion, was so like average, just made people on either side feel such intense love or hate. I don't understand the people saying it like ruined their lives
I mean, it ruined my love for Star Wars. I mean, I'll say that. And what I just mean by that is like, there's nowhere left for it to go for me. Like Solo was cool. Like, I loved it when I saw it. It was like my birthday movie, whatever. But it was like, it was a backstory. It didn't have any consequence. You know what I mean? Like, it really didn't mean anything in the sense of the story starting with episode 1 and going on. It's like, and everybody's like, well, episode 9 is coming to wrap it all up. I'm like, it feels wrapped up to me. Like, I don't, like, what
well, they're getting to the point where when you're the amount of movies deep.
Yeah, it's just like,
I feel similarly. I'm super excited and I'm looking forward to it. But the new Godzilla movie, like it's hands down my most anticipated movie of next year. But I don't have like these super personal stakes in it because it's like, well, what if it's bad? It's like, what if it's bad? If it's bad, it sounds like an exaggeration unless you actually know the series. But I literally have 33 other Godzilla movies I can go watch if it's bad.
Right.
Same with Star Wars. If it's bad, okay, I can go home and watch A New Hope. Whatever.
It's just like, I don't know, like for me, it's not even like for some reason I'm just at that weird point where I can't really just be like, oh, this movie didn't happen or that movie didn't happen. But I'm definitely at the point where I feel like there's quote unquote Lucas continuity or canon, and there's Disney continuity and canon, if that makes any sense. Because like, I just feel like all these movies,
it's a different era, definitely.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
but you know what I mean? Where like 7, 8, Solo, Rogue One, like they're just, you can feel that they were made in a different time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, there's always going to be something missing when you lose that level of. But I mean, even the prequels feel so disconnected from the original 3.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. It's Star Wars is just kind of weird, and each era kind of does have its own like, I guess, feel to it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I think the different eras, it's kind of like, it's because there's completely different people making them all, and it's like, you had young George Lucas overseeing the vision of the first 3, and then you had the much older and changed by life, by parenthood, by just whatever, Lucas that made the first, episode 1 through 3. And then you had a whole, just a brand new crop of people make the new one. So, I mean, I just feel like everybody's values and goals and what they believe a Star Wars movie should be or could be or whatever is just different. So I feel like as a fan, like every time they do a new era of movies, it's like it's your job as a fan to try and get on board. And like, as much as like people want to like still, like I still, read articles to this day that talk about how horrible the prequels were and all that kind of shit. It's just like, it's like people just couldn't get on board with it at the time. And like, everybody's just like, oh, there's just this toxic this or this toxic that. Like, they act like there's just like this dark and sinister thing to the fandom now. And I'm like, no, I mean, obviously there's always internet trolls or whatever. People are rude. People, say mean things or whatever to get a reaction. But it's like, it's really just the same thing as of like, it's just a fandom that can't get on board with the newest iteration. And then it's like, well, okay, like you're always going to kind of lose people every time you introduce a new era of it. Um, but are you picking up enough new fans? I think is the question to keep it going. And maybe they
Yeah.
are, maybe they aren't. I feel like right now, with the
That's
way,
all that matters, really.
yeah,
Honestly, like if they make a crap ton of Star Wars movies that I don't like, but it's giving
yeah,
the original trilogy new fans, I mean, I don't care.
yeah.
That's going to ensure the continued survival of Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. I mean,
Like I think at this point in time, kind of like I feel like how a lot of I was always a George Lucas fan, so I never felt this way. But I feel like after the prequels wrapped up, there was just a lot of people who felt like it was just time for a breath of fresh air and for Lucas to leave and somebody new to come in. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with the current era is really like the Kathleen era because she was the one that fired everybody and redid all the shit on Rogue One and Solo, and she was the one who made the decision to let Ryan just like do whatever story he wanted to with Last Jedi. So like I feel like I kind of have a new hope of like when Kathleen sails into the sunset and people are like, "Oh, that would never happen." That I was like, the lady's 65 years old and she's probably worth $500 million. Sorry, but she ain't gonna work forever.
yeah. Everyone wants to retire at some point.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, they'll keep doing. I will say, I think if Episode 9 does wrap everything up,
yeah.
it is good that they're cooling it with the movies. I mean, they expand into TV and streaming and all that, but I've been saying since day one when they wanted to do a Star Wars a year that Star Wars is not Marvel.
It's not.
It doesn't. Marvel has like 60 years of comic history and characters they can extrapolate from. You can't take a one-size-fits-all thing just because you want your own cinematic universe. Like,
right.
You can't. And I think that model is completely wrong for Star Wars. And I think people started to feel it, too, with Solo.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't even like Solo, but it did get, like... It got decent enough word of, like, reaction from, I think, fans and critics.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Solo is known as like this big flop and all this. It was like they didn't lose any money on Solo. Like, quit fooling yourself. You know what I mean?
I mean, I personally never would have wanted a Han Solo prequel anyway. But everyone was like, "Well, no one was asking for this," and no, they really weren't. But I don't think that was really... I don't think it's the matter of what was Solo. It was where was Solo in terms of when it came out. Like, if they had put that out maybe... I mean, it's December right now. If they stuck to the December model of a Star Wars in December, or maybe if they put it out next February when there's not much else to see, I think it probably would have done better.
I think so for sure. I think if it would have come out this Christmas, it would have done better. I mean, assuming that other movies would have moved off the schedule, but
yeah.
But you know what? The one thing that I've never heard anybody say, Byrd, but I honestly believe is I think more than anything, as much as people are like, "Oh, Last Jedi came out and then the fans boycotted Solo," I think more than anything, the thing that hurt Solo was Rogue One. And what I mean by that was I remember when Force Awakens was out, and I already, because we're all geeked up. I was all about Rogue One, and like I would talk to people who love Force Awakens. I'm like, well, what about the next one? Like nobody even knew about it. So like, I'm just curious, and it wasn't like the marketing really ever like sold it. Like before this, there was Rogue One. Like, I'm just wondering how many people either didn't really understand the concept of Rogue One and thought it was the next Star Wars movie, either initially through previews or whatever, or just people went to see it and they love Force Awakens and they just realized like, hey, I want more Rey, I want more Kylo. I don't give a fuck about these nobodies and strangers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then with Solo, it's like even the people who love Last Jedi and like I mean, we even know people. Trev, hugest Last Jedi fan, no interest in Solo, and it's like I just feel like it's hard to be like you're in the middle of this trilogy of characters that you're dying to see what happens next, and then you're like, oh, here's this other movie. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that doesn't.
Because
it doesn't work. It's weird.
I mean, even Marvel's doing it, and Marvel has a little more cachet to do it. But like, even though Ant-Man and Wasp made money, there were so many people that were negative on Ant-Man and Wasp just because it came out after Infinity War.
Yeah.
They're like, who cares about the small-scale bullshit? Who cares? This generic villain that, you know, phase shifts or whatever. Who cares? Give me that thick daddy Thanos.
Yeah, no shit. I don't. It's weird because they're like, oh well, how are we gonna you know, appetize the audience while they're waiting for the next one? It's like, let them wait.
Yeah, I totally think Rogue One and Solo, because they totally rushed The Force Awakens, and it's like well documented in the behind the scenes, whatever, whether it be the scripting, the shooting, whatever. Like they really forced it. I think they should have done one of the spin-offs first and gave them more time to develop episodes 7 through 9, but it's too late. Yeah. It's too late. Disney's running wild. Today we got the bombshell that the Emperor is actually Anakin's father via an official canon, whatever, Disney comic book. Yeah. It's just like...
Not biological father.
No.
What did he do? Well, he walked up to his mom and
he snuck up to Shmi Skywalker.
Conjured force energy in her uterus that formed a fetus.
It was literally like a ball, like an electricity ball in her stomach. And that's canon, by the way, folks. That's really what happened. So, like, I feel like Disney, with their quest to pump out 500 million Star Wars books and comic books a year and cash in every way they can, it's like, I just think eventually, like, everything will be retconned. Anything.
Yeah. It's like the last expanded universe. Chewbacca died because a planet fell on him.
Mm-hmm. It was a moon. Yeah.
Yeah, a moon fell on him.
It's just, it's ridiculous, and I think that's why I really hope, like, Lucasfilm, like, I mean, I don't want any more Indiana Jones movies, but they keep threatening they're going to do all these other projects, and they never do. They just go make more Star Wars. But I feel like if they did have separate movies, because Lucasfilm, when George Lucas was still running it, his last project he oversaw was animated film Strange Magic. I think even if Lucasfilm now was doing animated films, anything to get their mind off Star Wars and stop trying to bleed that stone dry, you know what I mean? Because it's pretty bizarre that you have a film studio that's Lucasfilm that is really Star Wars film. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Star Wars and sometimes Indiana Jones, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. Yeah. There's a part of me that thinks, like, Kathleen, or maybe it's not Kathleen, maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's Disney, like, behind it all, is like, just keep rewriting that Indiana Jones script. Harrison ain't getting any younger. Like, it's like they want to recast, but they just know that, just like with Solo, they know nobody wanted a different actor playing Solo, especially after that debacle. And now it's like, now they're probably getting like cold feet. They're like, we can't do it while Harrison's alive. We got to wait till he dies. And then the second he dies, we'll rush it in production. It'd be awesome if they got Alden Ehrenreich, like, to use up his other Solo movies he was signed up for. They just slid him over to Indiana Jones. All right, we are nearly an hour into the Byrd Holiday Spectacular, and we have not talked about anything holiday related. Byrd,
this is true.
Yeah, Byrd, tell the people, you shared a photo. I found it very interesting. Tell the people about, I believe there's 4 of them, your favorite Christmas ornaments that you have.
Yeah, I have a bunch of Godzilla ornaments. Actually, my mom gave them to me like a couple years ago, like all of them, basically. I have the 54 original Godzilla, and then I have the 60s Godzilla who's like kicking rocks or something. And then I have the Millennium Godzilla with the purple spines, the Godzilla 2000. And then my girlfriend got the 2014 Godzilla. And so my Christmas tree just has a bunch of Godzilla on it. But they're cool. Like, you press them, buttons on them, and they light up, and they roar, and they, the atomic blast will light up or whatever. And
Yeah. What I was going to ask you from looking at the thing, and then you said they even have the electronics inside. Are they like super heavy? Do you have to like really position them on the tree so they don't like fall off the branch or whatever?
yeah, kind of like I always like kind of like make a little space or like have a little support branch like bent up.
Yeah.
So I don't do real Christmas trees. I just have right now because I'm in an apartment right now. I just have like a little like one that you just pull out of a box every year.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't know. I feel weird about about like killing a real tree every year just for it to be up for 2 weeks or whatever. So I don't know. I grew up as a fake Christmas tree man, so it don't matter. I actually bought a Christmas tree this year. It's the first time I put up a full-size Christmas tree, I want to say since 1999, I believe. Wow, it's almost 20 years since I've had a real Christmas tree. So it's pretty cool, I have to admit. I'm happy I went Christmas tree route again. Anything else about this particular holiday season that you're enjoying?
I mean, I have a lot of nostalgia. I think that anyone probably does for Christmas, and this time of year historically for me and probably a lot of other people is one where like a lot of bad things happen. Yeah. But the older I get, and now also I'm a stepfather essentially. It's it kind of is reminding me a lot more of my own childhood, and my mom still makes her awesome Christmas cookies and nice. Christmas fudge and spiced nuts, and I love all that stuff. And I mean, so the older I get, the more I kind of get into my childhood joy and less of my seasonal depression.
Yeah.
But
I think what you're saying too, if you're lucky enough to be able to see the holiday and the festivities through the eyes of a child again, I think it like helps bring back some of that magic that you lose when you're an adult. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and it's not even like Santa. Like when I was probably the same age as my kid, like she just turned 4. My mom still tells the story to this day. When I was like that young, I just randomly one day I told her I don't believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, leprechauns.
What?
And
what got into you, Byrd?
I don't know. And my mom just looked at me like, where did that come from? And so she never really had to worry about that again.
This is actually funny. I've actually never told anybody this. Yeah, I don't think I've ever told anybody this. So, like I wanted to believe in Santa for, like, the longest time, like, as long as possible. And, like, I want to say I was about 12 years old, because it was when we moved to our second house, and we moved in that house when I was 11. So it was either Christmas that I was 11 or maybe the next Christmas where I was 12. Like, I really wanted to still believe in Santa. Like, even though I knew, because I would always find my presents. So, like, I would find all the presents, like, unwrapped, and then I would find them, like, wrapped, saying they were from Santa in the closet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, yeah. I always did that. Not always, more when I was an older kid. But, like, I remember I went to my mom, and I asked her, I was like, is Santa Claus real? And I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I actually wanted her to say, like, yeah, he is real. But then she told me, she broke down the whole thing of like, well, no, Santa's not real, but there is the spirit of Christmas and all that. And I was like heartbroken. Because
it's interesting. I think most kids figure it out when they're really, really young.
Yeah. I was like,
and I think they just don't want, like, and I think they want to believe it, and eventually they just stop, like, pretending to believe it.
Yeah, and then, like, I don't know how it got back to him. Either I told my dad or my mom told my dad, and he was pissed that she told me. He wanted to keep it going. But I mean, I was like really depressed. I'm like, this fucking sucks. Because it's like that thing you ask, but you want to believe, like you want somebody to tell you, no, it's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. But I tell you what, Bert, I will talk about one thing that very recently has made me feel like a child of Christmas again. And I think you know what it is. I'm talking about those awesome, delicious Grinch pancakes at IHOP. I can't get enough of them. For people,
they look pretty heavy duty, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For people who don't know, they got Grinch pancakes to celebrate the new movie. They have a couple different items from based on the movie. They have a wildebeest omelet, but I go for them Grinch pancakes, and they're pancakes with some green dye in them, so they're green. And then they have a special green mint whipped cream that's so good, and then they put some white kind of icing on top. Oh my god, they're so good. I remember when they put little red candy hearts on them too, which I don't really get other than they're red, but I don't get why you put a heart on there. So I was like over the moon, ecstatic. I went and I got them just on a lark, and like they turn out to actually be delicious, not just like terrible. Usually you see shit and oh, that looks cool, and then you taste it and it's terrible. And Byrd, you came at me. You had no qualms. You said that's too much stuff on those pancakes. I believe your direct quote was, "When it comes to pancakes, you should only use butter and light syrup."
No, it was syrup and light butter.
Okay,
but
syrup and light butter.
Yeah.
Come on, man! It's pancakes. It's like the silliest food that is. It's like one step above those weird orange circus peanut candy things.
I don't get too elaborate with I don't think anything. Like and syrup is your regular maple syrup. Don't be giving me the blueberry or the
boysenberry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the crazy one they have that I don't even know if it's a real thing? Yeah, boysenberry.
It's fake. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like pancakes is like the one food. Like I wouldn't be going crazy and putting like syrupy shit all over like a steak. Like I wouldn't take whipped cream and draw a face on a steak. But I feel like a pancake, it's okay, you know.
Yeah. That's the only food people regularly make faces on, I think.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I can't remember what movie it was, but there was some movie too where maybe it was like Minions or something a couple years ago. IHOP tried to do it where they try to draw a face on, and I'm like, that's just some fucking guy in the back with a can of whipped cream. Like he's got to make this slop all day long, grilling this shit, and then you're gonna force him to draw a silly face on a pancake. You know what I mean? Talking about. I mean, at least with the Grinch shit, he just dumps the nasty green dye. I love good. And I went back this past weekend and got him a second time. I don't know if I'll be able to get a third and final Grinch pancake visit in. Well, maybe I will, because they gave me a 20% off coupon that had a picture of the Grinch on. So I'm all Grinched out. Still have not seen the movie. I'm trying to see the movie before Christmas, but the show times got cut down. It's in like the tiniest theater they got. It actually might try to hit it Christmas Eve, but it could be sold out. There's limited showings on Christmas Eve, so but I hope I get to see it.
There you go. The only Grinch I really care about is the original cartoon.
Yeah, you don't even like Jim Carrey Grinch, do you?
No, it's weird because I never thought that movie had a very positive reputation, and then the last couple years, people are acting like it's like something that we should all care about. But
I gotta admit, I was still fairly young when, like, not as a kid, but just as a young adult when the Grinch with Jim Carrey came out. So I was like, this is fucking corny. Like, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was annoyed by it. Because it was like, I remember you would go to the grocery store and almost every product, I think it was Kellogg's products, and they make a lot of different shit. Everything had Grinch hands on it. And I was like, God, just, enough of it already. I was like, yeah, he's in the rubber makeup. Who cares? But I've never seen it all the way through, but I've seen big chunks of it. Like, usually I see it playing on like some movie channel in like July or something. But, I will say I am impressed. Like, it doesn't seem to have much plot. It's almost like a movie where he's constantly just being chased around. But I think it's impressive when you see that they physically made the whole village, and then you see like dozens and dozens, like 100 extras with the mutant makeup on, whatever the Whoville mutants are. So I kind of respect the movie, and I was gonna buy it on Black Friday. They had it for like I think $9 on 4K, but it was actually sold out. First of all, I was shocked that it was on 4K because, like you said, like I didn't think people really liked the movie or revered it as a holiday classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like nobody likes Jim Carrey anymore, right?
I mean, I think his personal politics precede him these days, but
and not even like Democrat and Republican politics.
It's this anti-vax shit.
Oh, he's one of them?
Yeah, it's all cuckoo.
I just knew that he was always talking about being a construct and
he's always saying weird stuff. I don't mind him. Like, I mean, I actually like. I think he's a really good dramatic actor. Eternal Sunshine's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I think he's awesome. I think he's funny.
I started watching his show. I hope to finish the season. I just kind of fell out of it. But Kidding, that he did with Michelle Gondry, where he's like a Mr. Rogers type that's like going through a midlife crisis, is pretty entertaining, and he's really good in it. So. Yeah,
I've seen parts of it flipping around. Unfortunately, it's going to end in about a month, but my Showtime free preview is going to go away. But you have Showtime, Byrd?
Yes, yeah.
I'm about halfway through it. Are you about that Escape at Dana Moore?
What now?
Have you been watching Escape at Dana Moore?
No, I am not.
You know that what show I'm talking about on there?
No, I don't even know. I don't know what you're.
Okay, it's 7-part miniseries more than anything, based on a real life jailbreak. Every episode directed by Ben Stiller. Paul Dano and Benicio del Toro play the inmates who escape, and they escape from getting help from this nasty lady that runs a sewing shop at the prison that they keep taking turns banging. And then like half the series they spend like they cut holes in the wall and they're like climbing through trying to figure out their escape route, like climbing through the bowels. Tell you what, also David Morse is in it. He plays a prison guard. It's an awesome show.
David Morse plays a cop or prison guard. You're kidding.
Yes. But it's really good. Dude, Benicio del Toro, man. And like after I saw this, I had an issue with his role of DJ as Last Jedi. I'm like, how could you waste that guy?
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Because nothing bores me more than prison shit. But Benicio del Toro, he's like the guy who kind of runs all the shit behind the scenes in the prison and shit. He blew me away in this. Like, it might be his best role, I think. Just from a standpoint of, I don't know how to say it, but it's like, and Ben Stiller's a hell of a director. Like, there's just a lot of unique shots and sequences that you wouldn't expect. There's some, like, prison stuff, whatever, but it's really, like, a combination, like, a character study between the woman who's played by Patricia Arquette. She gained, like, 50 pounds. They made her face look super old and ugly. They did all this weird shit to her skin. And it's like, it's all about this woman who, being romanced by these prisoners. And then the prisoners, they have their different stories and what's going on. They're both, sentenced life. I don't know. It just really took me. I just made the commitment that I want to watch this. Well, I had the Showtime preview or whatever for the next month. And just because really Benicio was on it, and then I gotta say I forgot how good and talented of a person Ben Stiller is. Like, he directed the shit out of the show.
Okay.
So yeah, I recommend it highly. Once you and it's only 7 episodes. I think 5 have aired so far, and I think the last one airs on like December 30th. So it'll be wrapped up pretty soon, and then you'll be able to binge it all or do whatever you want. But yeah, and it's based on a real true thing, and it's the actual escape part of it is pretty amazing, like the shit that they did. But yeah, that's kind of like my one big, television recommendation of the year is Escape at Dana Moore.
All right, cool.
So without further ado, we will get into the main chunk of our episode here. And just like how me and Trev did a couple years ago on Holiday Special, we're going to be talking about Byrd's 3 favorite holiday films. Byrd, in any particular order you want to do, let us know what one of your favorite holiday films is.
Okay, I'm both prepared and unprepared, just because just because I feel like the favorites are the same ones that always show up
Sure.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, do I want to pick my actual favorites, or do I want to get into some like more obscure ones, or ones that don't seem to get enough attention? And you know what I mean? But I mean, there's so many Christmas movies that it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, like my favorite. Well, first of all, we should get into this, because what constitutes a Christmas movie? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Sure, if it makes you feel the Christmas spirit. And the reason I say that is I feel like Die Hard at its core is really about family. So I actually do say Die Hard is a Christmas film.
And that's something that people argue about all the time.
No,
but
yeah. The only one that I would kind of argue is very arbitrarily a Christmas film is, you know how Shane Black sets all his movies at Christmas?
Yeah.
Is I kind of feel like he didn't really sell it all the way with Iron Man 3.
Yeah, like there's nothing Christmas about it, other than the Christmas tree. So it's like how much do you want to narrow? Like how much do you narrow that down? You know, that's the big question.
Yeah.
But I mean,
to me, something like Silent Night, Deadly Night, that's a Christmas film, because the whole core, the whole theme, it's very dark and twisted, but you could say it's a Christmas film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all kind of strange. Now, well, let me ask you this. Nightmare Before Christmas, more appropriate to watch at Christmas or Halloween?
See, I know this is an age-old question that even you bring up a lot, and I'm going to go Christmas. Why? Because it's about a guy from Halloween Town. The movie opens, I believe, on Halloween night. It opens a guy from Halloween Town learning how to be Santa Claus. It ain't about Santa Claus learning how to take Jack Skellington's job in Halloween Town. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. More of the movie takes place in Christmas than Halloween.
And the whole central theme of it is really for Jack Skellington to learn how to be Santa. What is Santa? Why is he doing these good deeds? You know. So to me, it's definitely, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to watch it both times a year. I mean, I think that movie still holds up.
Oh, yeah. I saw it on Halloween Day one time. It was like a one-time, you know, just like literally for one day we're showing Nightmare Before Christmas. And, and I saw it on Halloween Day. And it was great, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so... I don't want to get into, like, I don't want to talk about too much about I don't want to talk about Die Hard. I don't want to, I want to get into some stuff people might not have seen or maybe heard of or whatever. Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, right? Is it? Yeah.
Well, definitely at the beginning part when Penguin's goons attack and Batman goes through with the Batmobile and all that shit. They're fighting with the big Christmas trees and all that.
I've grown to appreciate that movie more. It's an awful Batman movie, but as a Tim Burton oddity, I think it's pretty cool these days.
See, it's my favorite Batman movie of all time. And the reason I say that was I feel like, first of all, I'm not a Batman fan. Like, I had a handful of Batman comics growing up. But to me, it was a very, because of Tim Burton's sensibility, even much so more than Batman 1989, it was a very comic booky movie at a time when, A, there was hardly any comic book movies, but also, B, the ones they did make were not very fantastical or outrageous at all. And I loved how Batman Returns just took a whole big leap into, with all the characters, Penguin, Catwoman, whatever, it just took a huge leap into the absurd, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And for Christmas, makes a great double bill with Edward Scissorhands.
Yep.
another Tim Burton Christmas set movie. But again, I mean, this is stuff that everyone knows. If I had to pick a favorite holiday movie, it would be Gremlins.
Oh yeah, I love Gremlins.
And I saw Gremlins really young, but it was that thing where it's like it freaked me out, but like I loved it, kind of. And Gremlins is brilliant, and everyone listening to this has seen Gremlins, but it still holds up, and that speech that Phoebe Cates gives about how she found out Santa wasn't real would not make it into a movie these days.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's awesome.
And I
love it so much, man. Like,
I know they tried to talk Joe Dante out of including it, and he said, "I can't make this movie without that scene. That scene is the movie."
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, that's I believe it's in that speech where she talks about, or they talk about, some people are opening presents, other people want to open their wrist up or whatever. That was my first, as a kid, that was my first introduction into the idea that people get really depressed at Christmas time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure that scene also explained to many kids that Santa's not real.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I love it. It holds up. I have very fond memories of it as a kid and as an adult. I mean, right now I'm kind of just doing shout-outs because I don't want these to be like the three. Yeah. But yeah, Gremlins and Gremlins 2, not a Christmas movie, but one of the most underrated and just smart sequels ever, probably.
Well, I personally prefer the first Gremlins, like by a wide margin, just because it's more. I don't know. I even like the creatures themselves better than the first one, but like the one thing I will say, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Gremlins. Gremlins 2 was such a hype thing when I was a kid. I collected all these figurines. I was so excited when the movie came out. I liked the movie a lot. I bought the trading cards. But the thing is, even though you can't really compare the Gremlins movies because the first one is so dark and there's so much melancholy in it, and it's tied so much to the Christmas theme. And part 2 is designed to be this big, kind of loud live action cartoon thing that it's trying to be a big summer movie, and it is a big summer movie, and it's done like really well as a big summer sequel. You know what I mean? It's hard to compare them at all.
A more recent one that I really love, because I love Christmas horror.
I do too.
Some people know that about me. My old podcast, If It Bleeds, We Can Kill It, me and Trev did a whole episode about Christmas horror. Krampus is the most recent one, and it's weird because Christmas horror used to be like a rare little treat you'd find, but ever since Krampus, there's more every year. And that's not a complaint. My only complaint is I don't have time to watch them all.
Right.
But Krampus, I thought, really nailed it. Now I'm going to get weird and more obscure in a minute, but I have to give a shout out to 1974's Black Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
By Bob Clark, the movie that really Americanized some of the things the Italians were doing and paved the way for Halloween. Considered by some to be the first real slasher movie, and it's definitely in there. And don't see the remake from a few years ago. Go right for that original movie. And then, speaking of Bob Clark, of course, I have to mention A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Which is a movie that, thanks to TNT, I think everyone has memorized. But it is a really well done film, and I mean, I could probably live my whole life without ever seeing it again. But
I never watch it all the way through. But I watch
same
it
here.
On TV when it's on, and I'll watch it, until it goes to the commercial break, and then I'll go watch something else, and I'll come back because they always like run it in a loop. I'll just watch parts of it, like
I'll have it on. I'll just put on the channel in the background while I'm doing something else, and throughout the course of the day, maybe I will have watched the whole thing, but like in pieces.
Yeah. I love that movie as a kid because not even so much about the Christmas theme of it. I love that movie because that's one of the best movies ever, I feel like, for kids to watch, where the whole story is told from a kid's point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you know they did a sequel?
I did, and I never watched it because wasn't it like way later in like direct-to-video?
Yeah, it was 94.
Okay.
And it's some of the same cast, but I never saw it. And then they did one of those cheap straight-to-video sequels a few years ago, which I never saw either. But the original sequel from 94, Bob Clark did come back for.
Really?
Yeah, that was shortly before he went insane and started making Baby Geniuses and stuff. But
you mean before he started cashing them big checks?
Yeah.
But Bob Clark is just very unique because I'm a huge Black Christmas fan. I mean, it possibly could be in my top 10 films of all time. Period. Like, I was very very taken aback because I had recently rediscovered Black Christmas. I was always a fan of Black Christmas, but how many years ago I got a DVD of it and I started watching it, religiously every year around Christmas. And then it was like kind of like around Christmas time that Bob Clark passed, like in a real bizarre, tragic car accident. And I gotta say, you know how we always talk about Byrd, like all these directors that we lose and stuff now because of old age. Like Bob Clark was the first one that like really hit me hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, I've like Christmas movies. You watch pretty much from when you can watch movies through your whole life, basically. So, like one of my it had to have been one of my first theater experiences because I probably started going to movies when I was like 4, and so like '89 had, I think, a re-release of Bambi, I think might have been my very first, but then also Land Before Time.
Yep.
And then there was a movie, to this day, I only saw the one time in theaters at the age of 4, and I don't remember a damn thing about it, but it was a movie called Prancer with Sam Elliott.
I've never seen it, but I remember when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the movie itself very much, but I remember going to see it. I remember my mom taking me. I remember the theater because it was the first time I went to that theater, which is one that I still go to regularly to this day. And I remember it being the first time I was in a theater that had cup holders thinking it was so, like, this theater has cup holders. Yeah. But I don't really remember the movie at all. But so shout out to Prancer for giving me fond memories of cup holders.
That's crazy, man. Because I'm actually old enough that I remember either setting your drink on the floor or trying to set it in between your lap and letting it freeze your balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I remember going and seeing movies that did not have those, which is why I was so blown away that they had cup holders. So thank you, Prancer, wherever you are.
Wherever you are, Prancer. Probably some shitty basement archive title.
Yeah.
You probably got to pay like $18.99 to get a Laserdisc transfer of Prancer on an archive thing.
And then there's some weird ones too. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Have you ever actually seen Santa Claus Conquers the Martians?
I have, and it was from the way I got into it, believe it or not. Like, I mean, I've always known about its cult mock status, but I got into it more from seeing it around my apartment. I had like a hipster roommate who loved the Flaming Lips, and the Flaming Lips frontman was trying to make some weird spin-off or remake of it. So then my roommate was interested in the original movie, and I just remember watching clips and shit. I mean, I've seen it more from, and I think maybe because didn't MST3K do it?
Yeah.
I think I did watch the MST3K version of it, but yeah, it's Japanese movie, right?
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. What? Yeah, it's not. It's not Japanese. It's not Asian.
No.
What? I think that one's just the U.S. Mystery Science Theater did do a crazy Mexican movie called Santa Claus, otherwise known as Santa Claus versus Satan. Have you heard about this?
Actually, I have heard about that.
It's crazy because basically Santa Claus, he lives in outer space and he has to come to Earth to battle Satan, who is trying to ruin Christmas by making children just do evil things. And it's a really crazy, surreal movie that I don't know how human minds like came up with it, but that's a Mystery Science. I think that episode might be on Netflix actually.
I think
so
it
like
is,
yeah. Anyway, have you seen Rare Exports, the Finnish movie?
I have, and this is what's crazy, Byrd. I had it on Blu-ray, like right when it came out on Blu-ray. I had it for years, however many years ago that was. I had it, and every Christmas I'm like, I'm going to watch this, Never got around to it. I forced myself to watch it, I think a couple days actually after last Christmas. So I just saw it within the last year for the first time. And let me tell you, I was not emotionally or mentally prepared for that bizarre cavalcade of CGI that happened at the end. To me, it's almost more legendary than even the Krampus film in terms of just being the craziest over-the-top Christmas movie, you know what I mean?
No, Rare Exports is pretty insane. There's like nude old guys who are, I guess, elves? Are they the elves?
Yeah, like they think... I always thought the premise of the movie is that they were Santa. And then I have a steelbook of it, and on the inside, the steelbook has printed pictures of Krampus, which Krampus doesn't feature into the movie like at all.
Yeah, Rare Exports, it's usually streaming somewhere. And then one that I'm so cheating, by the way, because I'm talking about like 100 movies.
You are cheating, but that's okay.
Yeah,
if I would have known you were going to do this, I would have like really cut down on all that fucking Marvel and Last Jedi.
Whatever.
I would have let you got to it right away, but I was afraid of filling time for the holiday special.
Yeah, but one I'm going to take a few seconds on here is Night of the Hunter, which only the ending really is at Christmas, but it's just a great movie. Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters. It's a classic suspense film. If you like old thrillers like Hitchcock kind of stuff, I can't recommend it enough. Okay, so my three that I will talk about for more than 2 minutes. Okay, my first one is Trading Places.
Oh, yeah.
By John Landis, starring Eddie Murphy, Jamie Lee Curtis, Dan Aykroyd. Just a movie that is... this is kind of one of my go-to comedies, and when people say, oh, Byrd, you hate comedies, which is very true most of the time, I always point this out as a reason why I like older comedies, because in the 80s and before, even the 90s a little bit, more comedies were really kind of willing to go to a more area of more social commentary. And this movie is about what happens when a poor black man and a rich white man trade places due to a comedy of errors. Yeah. And I just think that it's, to this day, one of the better, satires on race relations. And it's John Landis at the peak of his career, or what is about to be the peak of his career. Right. Same with Eddie Murphy. This is right before Eddie Murphy blew up, and Yeah, it all takes place at Christmas, and it might be a little bit of a stretch because thematically it's not too Christmassy, but it does tie into themes of togetherness and acceptance and things like that. And that's kind of how the movie ends on a high note in that regard. And yeah, no, I just love it. And I remember Comedy Central used to play this movie all the time, and that's how I first saw it. And it's, I mean, I don't feel like these days it gets talked about enough over the years. So it's kind of like what we were saying when we were talking about Gorgo. I mean, the movies like this and Gorgo is they lived due to television, re-airings, and now I don't know if this is like, this doesn't pop up on what you want to watch on Netflix. And I feel like unless a movie pops up in that little trending bar on Netflix, it's just kind of not talked about much. And
it's so forgotten. I mean, a lot of Eddie Murphy shit is really forgotten, and I would agree with you. I would definitely make the argument that it's a Christmas film. Because if you really look at what happens with the Dan Aykroyd character in particular, it's almost like a wonderful life type of character arc. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
And I don't know if you agree with me, but I think it does something great that a lot of comedies don't do, because comedies are just, they're usually trying to be so silly. But I think with its plot, I think it plays the long game beautifully. I don't want to spoil the ending of what happens, but the way the movie wraps up and what happens with all the characters and the two older guys, I think it's like one of the best, like, emotionally funny, satisfying endings of any comedy movie ever.
Yeah, and I always use this movie, and actually a lot of the classic John Landis directed comedies, as examples of comedies done right, and that so many of them, I mean, I'm talking more the mainstream stuff. There's always little indie comedies or dramedies or whatever that I like a Coen Brothers thing or whatever, but like comedies, they don't really have scripts these days. It's all let's just have a thin premise and ad-lib the whole time and just throw it together. But I mean, these were witty, well scripted movies. This and the loosely connected Coming to America, stuff like that. I mean, they had plots, they had characters, they had arcs, but they were also really funny.
Yeah.
And that's what I miss in going and seeing. Like, I mean, you're not gonna get that out of the latest Will Ferrell vehicle or whatever. And comedies, the mainstream comedy is really just kind of the most dead genre to me. And I miss when movies like this were more normal.
I mean, outside of the Will Ferrell game and the Kevin Hart game, comedies are kind of non-existent, and a lot of it has to do with that it's like the one genre that you 100% can't export around the world, especially to China in particular, because comedy doesn't really play that well, because so much of what's funny to Americans has to be based around our more social mores and our values and whatever, and that's just not going to translate. And then on top of it, a lot of comedies, even PG-13 comedies, they have risque content that cannot pass the censor board in places like China, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I miss when a Hollywood comedy would be something that was actually written and thought about and had something to say. And Trading Places is just a classic. And Aykroyd, Murphy, John Landis, I mean, it's all these guys at the very top of their game. And it's something that got a lot of attention throughout the 80s and 90s and maybe even early 2000s, and now it's not trending on Netflix or Amazon, so the younger people aren't checking it out, and that sucks. So my next one is I'm cheating a little bit, but I am going to talk more about one specific movie, and that is the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. I have seen all 6 of them.
Wow, dude.
On multiple occasions, which probably raises more questions about me than anything.
I think it does. By the way, side note, I watched about maybe half of it on my DVR. I've got to finish it up here next day and two, but I'm working my way through part 3 right now.
Part 3 is probably my least favorite. Directed by Monty Hellman.
Yeah,
weirdly.
That caught my interest.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but the first 2, I mean, they're awful. They're all awful movies. The first 2 I like the most, probably. The first one has so many great moments. Linnea Quigley getting impaled on the spikes, and the crazy grandpa who is, as you know, a tradition of mine on Facebook every Christmas Eve. I have to post that clip.
Yes, you do.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 has a garbage day, and it's mostly flashbacks to stock footage of the first one.
Yeah.
So if you have one, maybe watch that, but you will miss out on the grandpa scene.
Yeah. And part 2 was like the rarest one for the longest time too. Now it's coming out on a $80 Blu-ray, but
3 has Bill Moseley as the killer, who's suddenly like mute and has like a see-through dome.
Yeah.
Exposes his brain.
Yeah, he looks like a Ninja Turtle villain in it or something.
I think this might be the only one that I've only seen once, so my memory of it is foggy, but I remember not being that impressed. And then after that, it kind of gets into this weird anthology territory where it doesn't really. So Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, directed by Brian Yuzna, is a really insane, barely Christmas-related movie about a cult. And it's really bizarre, and I don't know. I mean, if you like Brian Yuzna movies, I would say check it out. And then there's 5, which we'll get back to, and then there's Silent Night, a remake made in 2012 that was actually pretty well done. Like,
bad.
It actually like felt almost like a real movie.
Yeah.
With Malcolm McDowell. But I want to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker.
Yep.
Starring Mickey Rooney as the Toy Maker, which is funny. Which is funny because Mickey Rooney was, when the first Silent Night, Deadly Night came out, it caused an uproar in Middle America because the idea of a killer Santa Claus was just completely unacceptable. Even though the Santa Claus is a young guy that doesn't even wear the beard. And one of the most outspoken people saying it was wrong was Mickey Rooney, who was morally disgusted by the first. But he's not morally disgusted by paychecks and work.
Well, he wasn't getting them sweet toy maker paychecks yet.
Well, he must have been really desperate, because I doubt his check for the Toy Maker was very high. Have you seen the Toy Maker?
No, I was gonna say I've only seen part 1. I'm very, very late to the Silent Night game. Never spotted them in video stores ever when they're on VHS. Never came across them on cable somehow. So I just jumped in when Anchor Bay and the DVDs were always in and out of print and very expensive. So like I just jumped in when Anchor Bay finally released the Blu-ray a few years ago. Got that. It kind of became an annual tradition for me to watch it on Christmas Eve. I kind of got out of that because like for a few years I did Black Christmas. A few years I did Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now I'm kind of more on that Christmas Evil train. But I really only seen part 1 until the other night. I saw I could, on demand watch part 3, and I was like, well, I'll watch part 3 because at least it loosely ties into his younger brother or whatever. But so I've never seen all these like sequels and shit.
Yeah. See, I went through high school watching 1, 2, and 5 the most because I'd rent them.
Okay.
3 and 4 I didn't care too much about, but those 3 are the ones that I would rent several times, just because they're so wild. The Toy Maker is directed by I don't know, some guy, but it is produced by Brian Yuzna, and this is about so Mickey Rooney. This is it's a Christmas movie that takes place in a like I don't know, it must be taking place in like Nevada or something because it's not snowing. or anything. There's nothing wintry about it. But Mickey Rooney plays this crazy toy maker, and he has this really weird son whose name is Pino, and he makes these killer toys that are designed to, like, I don't know, like you'll buy like a toy like creature or something and press a button and it'll like kill you. So yeah, that's his thing, and he has a toy store, and people buy these toys and they get killed by the toys, and then they're like unsolved murders. So let me ask if you get where this is going. Mickey Rooney plays an old man who owns a toy store. His name is Joe Petto.
Oh, yeah.
And his son is named Pino.
Mm.
Can you guess what the twist might be involving these two?
Yeah, I was going to say, because they have, on my on-demand thing right now, which I think it's Star's Encore channel has these available, if anybody has that on their cable, on demand or whatever, they have, let's see, I think they have this, they have 3, and I think they have 3, 4, 5, and Silent Night. So I was like, I'm like, how much time do I really want to devote this holiday season? So I went to the synopsis or whatever on the Toy Maker. That shit straight out tells you on demand that this is a modern retelling of Pinocchio.
So yeah, Pino, so he is indeed artificial. Yeah. And there's a crazy scene where because he doesn't have like a penis, because he's like a Ken doll, basically, and he is like sexually frustrated though, so like he's trying to like he's like trying to like rape this woman.
I'm getting, and he's just like Chucky flashbacks.
And he's just like gyrating towards her, but like he has no private parts, and it's really strange movie.
Well, hold on a second, Bert. Like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a little person in a costume acting this?
No, it's like a grown man. It's like he's supposed to. He's like a teenager, but he's fake, basically.
Okay, you sold me on this. I'm downloading this.
No, it's insane. I
originally wasn't going to make time for it, but I'm definitely going to watch it now.
No, it's crazy. Clint Howard has a cameo as a mall Santa, and it's just one of the craziest Christmas anythings.
Yeah, I was surprised because I was reading some of the background the other night once I started watching part 3, and part 2. The reason they show all them clips is they had very little budget. I think part 2 was made for like $250,000 in a couple weeks. So they just had to reuse all that footage to pad out the running time. And I'm curious, and then like also it was very poorly received and got very limited theatrical play, part 2 did. So like I'm surprised. I mean, I guess they just realized they could tap into the video market. But I was really surprised that after like the whole disastrous production and release of part 2 that all these sequels came later. I was like, where did they come up with the money? Because they couldn't come up with the money to do really part 2 correctly. So.
Yeah, and then they got Monty Hellman to do 3. I don't know, maybe they tricked him or something. Then Brian Yuzna basically took over 4 and directed 4, and then he produced 5. So those were kind of like his.
He must have been hard up.
Yeah, and then there was a remake that was like years later and is kind of its own. Because, I mean, that was when slasher remakes were everywhere.
Yeah,
so.
when every slasher had to have a remake. And that was because the rights holders in general, it wasn't like, because like with Freddy, like New Line owns it, and then Paramount, and then eventually New Line owned Jason, and same with Leatherface, Hands changed. But Silent Night was like, even though the first film was distributed by Columbia theatrically, it was never held by any like these rights weren't hard to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a weird franchise, but I really wanted to talk about the Toy Maker because it's just insane. I don't know. It's something.
It's something to behold.
Yeah. My number 3, another one that a lot of people probably won't know, is a Hammer film. The British studio Hammer. who is mostly known for their horror movies. They're Dracula, Frankenstein's, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, which I love. I'm a big Hammer horror guy, but I'm going to go outside of horror and go to a suspense crime thriller, 1961's Cash on Demand, starring Peter Cushing. Have you heard of this movie at all?
Not at all. Give me the lowdown on this.
It's a loose, and I emphasize the word loose, retelling of the Scrooge story. It doesn't have the ghosts of Christmas past or whatever, but basically, so Peter Cushing is this, he's the manager of a bank, and he's just very no-nonsense, the no fun allowed kind of manager. And, his staff is talking about, they're working a couple days before Christmas, and, they're going to have a work Christmas party, and, Cushing wants nothing to do with it. And he's like, you kids just want to have fun and blah, blah, blah. And the reputation of a banker is, so important and all this stuff. And then a very, a ruthless yet very, I guess, unsuspecting at first thief attempts to, well, he's trying to rob the bank, and he's basically thought out every step of how this robbery is going to go, and he knows everything about this bank. He knows everything about their security systems, and he tells Cushing, like, I have your family at gunpoint at home, and you're going to do everything I say, or they will be killed. And the rest of the movie is just him putting this intense pressure on Peter Cushing to do everything he says, exactly how he says it. One wrong move will get his wife and kids killed, and he has to abide, and he can't do anything to alert anybody. And it's like, okay, how is this guy going to get out of this situation? And at the end, I won't spoil how the situation is resolved, but, throughout this, these two guys, this robber and Peter Cushing, they get into talk of their philosophies and how Peter Cushing is, maybe you should appreciate your family more. You should appreciate your staff more, who, they want to have fun, sure, but you should appreciate the hard work. You should pay them more, and all this stuff. And this is coming from the bad guy. And then, wow. Yeah, and then through, the course of the movie, I won't spoil how it gets resolved, but it ends with our villain basically saying, like, yeah, you could learn a thing or two about life. And it's old black and white movie, British, but it's suspenseful, and yeah, there's a lot of times where you're like, oh, how is Peter Cushing going to get out of this? Like, there's no way he can get out of this. But I highly recommend it. It's on a pretty affordable, it's on some import Blu-rays that are really more fancied up with the special features and stuff. But Mill Creek did a decent release that's bare bones of this and a couple other movies that's, it's Mill Creek, so it's affordable. But no, I highly recommend Cash on Demand, Hammer Studios.
It sounds good, and it actually, the casting is definitely Hammer-esque, but I'm kind of surprised that they made a movie, with this genre, this style.
Yeah, they're most famous for their horror stuff, but yeah, Hammer did suspense, they did sci-fi, they did comedies, and action movies, pirate movies. I haven't seen a lot of their non-horror stuff, but from what I've seen, this is one of the this is like probably part of the cream of the crop of their non-horror output. And another movie that virtually no one on earth knows anymore, but check it out, Cash on Demand. It's out there, you can get it cheap. I'm sure some niche streaming site might have it up, but
yeah. It sounds like it's funny too, because it sounds like such a modern title for an older film, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, On Demand now is like,
yeah.
Yeah. What indie movie can I rent that didn't play in my theater?
Yeah. Byrd, just to circle back for a second, I'm going to blow your mind. I looked up a little while ago. I got some Prancer facts for you.
Oh, okay. Let's hear them.
Yeah, this was actually a Ryan Pictures release. It was actually a hit. It grossed $18.6 million. And I guess it was so successful 11 years later, in 2001, they produced a direct-to-video sequel. And Prancer has actually been released several times by MGM Home Video on DVD. Sadly, no Blue. But DVD and several, they keep changing it's one of those ones where it keeps selling, so they keep just redoing the cover, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Prancer was actually a pretty good hit right there.
Oh, no shit, I'm on the Wikipedia page now. This is directed by John Hancock. His first movie was Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, which, have you seen that?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's a really cool, atmospheric little like 70s zombie vampire kind of movie. It's like I don't know. It's a really underrated movie. I had no idea he made Prancer. That's
nice. Let's see. He also had some uncredited directing on Wolfen too.
Oh, I haven't seen Wolfen.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I need to see it again. Wow, I did Bang the Drum Slowly and Baby Blue Marine. Baby Blue Marine is actually a movie I kind of want to see. Jan Michael Vincent, yeah, Baby Blue Marine. I've always been curious about it.
Huh.
So yeah. And now I'm kind of curious about Prancer. That might be my my pick this year for the holiday movie I've never seen. Because I remember it so kind of like, vividly but vaguely at the same time. You know what I mean? And wasn't there like in the 80s, Byrd, like didn't they make some jank sequel to like Miracle on 34th Street?
I think they did, and then they did a remake in the 90s also.
Did they? Yeah.
Oh, I also got to mention the Peanuts Christmas special, which I also watch. Yeah. I watch that all the time around Christmas too.
Yeah, and obviously we love the Grinch. Like you said, the original one.
Yeah, Boris Karloff, man.
Yeah, I like all the stop motion ones too that they used.
Yeah, the Rankin Bass stuff is great.
Like if they just put all the Rankin Bass ones like together and like just like released it in a theater, I would go pay to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say, fans, about the holiday movies? Is there one holiday movie that you just been burning to watch that you haven't gotten around to yet, Byrd?
Right now, well, see, like, me and my girlfriend, one of our first like movies we saw was Krampus together. So it's actually been like a tradition every Christmas Eve. We watch Krampus. So I'm looking forward to our annual Krampus viewing. I always try and squeeze Gremlins in there. There's nothing I'm like really dying to. Oh, I gotta watch this before Christmas. Like, there's not really anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to cycle through a lot of the movies I mentioned today, or wherever I can.
But is there one that you've never watched it?
It's probably a horror movie.
Yeah, I think one of mine would probably be a horror one. Although I will say, because I've seen the original Santa Claus several times, and we just rewatched it a week ago because we had family visiting. Yeah. And my girlfriend got the box set last year, and we just didn't get around to watch it. But I am curious because I've seen the Santa Claus film probably 3 times in my life. I saw it once in the theater with my mom. We watched it around Christmas time a couple years ago on Netflix streaming, and now I watched it again on the Blue. I have no idea where this series could go. And like, I know that sounds stupid to be like, but the first one is such a self-contained movie. I'm just so curious. And shockingly, every time I see it, I forget how much I love the Santa Claus. Like, just the story of like the divorced family and the dickhead stepdad, and just like how the guy's losing touch with his son, and him becoming Santa makes a relationship with his son again. Like, I don't know. I think it's a really underrated movie. Oh,
we didn't mention Jack Frost.
Oh yeah, you know what? I gotta
The
watch
Killer
that.
Snowman Jack Frost.
I bought that I think last Black Friday from Vinegar Syndrome with the little lenticular cover, and I never watched it. But yeah, I gotta watch that this year.
You know what's insane is the plot and like events of the movie are eerily similar to the Michael Keaton Jack Frost. Like there's scenes like where he's like fighting bullies where like the only difference is the horror version he kills them. Like he says a snowball fight with the bullies to protect a kid. Like this happens in both of them.
Wow.
It's uncanny. Like
and what
you know what I did?
Did they come out like right at the same time too?
Yeah. It's suspicious. It's suspicious. Yeah. You know what when I was an asshole teenager, you know what I used to do when I was in the Blockbuster stores?
Let's hear it.
I used to swap out the Jack Frost.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
I would put the horror one in the Michael Keaton case and the Michael Keaton one in the horror case. Yeah. I only did it 2 or 3 times. That's okay.
It's funny. I guess technically I've never seen both, but last year I kept watching parts of the Michael Keaton one on TV, on cable, and I need to sit down and watch it because I've always been kind of attracted to it because I actually saw. Well, I didn't see them filming anything, but I saw them setting up one of the sets for it when I was on a tour of Warner Brothers on vacation one time, and it was like dead of summer, and they were putting like the fake snow and shit up like around the house. So like I saw them setting up like all the fake snow around like Michael Keaton's house in that movie. And what I thought was great, because it's not that old of a movie, right? Isn't it? Well, yeah, like
late 90s.
Yeah, it's like 98, because it was like 98 when I did a tour of the studio. And they were shooting like I think just some reshoot shit, before it came out that holiday season a few months later. But when you watch it's great too, because I noticed it like, and they do this shot over and over every time, because it's like kind of like the Santa Claus where like actually he's a musician and like he's losing touch with his wife and his kid and whatever, and like his buddy played by Mark Addy is always taking him and pulling him away and whatever, and they're always driving away. Watch when they drive away from the house, because you can clearly see at the end of the street it's just like a huge matte painting that's supposed to look like a 3D street going down the road, and you can just tell that like the car always starts out and then it starts slow, like right before the shot cuts, it starts slowing. The car actually starts slowing down because they're about to hit the matte painting that's the end of the street. Like it goes maybe like 2 houses down and they have all the bushes full of fake snow and Christmas lights up and shit, and then you just see him not trying to hit, and the shot, like it's not the same shot, like they just different takes of them driving away in that direction, but it's great because you can totally tell it's just a matte painting street.
Oh, we didn't mention Christmas Evil or Elves either.
Yeah, Christmas Evil I came late on. I got the Vinegar Syndrome Blue 2-3 years ago, and it actually really kind of replaced, I want to say, the Silent Night, Deadly Night spot for me, because it really is more like I can't believe how much Christmas Evil is a like an actual Christmas story. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and it's got one of the craziest endings ever.
It does. And you know what? Shout out the guy who plays the brother in it is Jeffrey DeMont, and he's awesome.
Yeah, a young buff Jeffrey DeMont.
Yeah, and he's awesome in it. I was gonna say Silent Night, Deadly Night. Believe it or not, Byrd, I really do like that movie, but I actually like the first half better, because I like all the flashbacks when Billy is a kid, and I like all the shit of like like I love the flashbacks where they show his like parents get murdered, and then I like the parts where he's growing up in the orphanage, and I actually really like the parts where he's working in the toy store before it all goes wrong. Like I actually kind of feel bad when everything goes wrong for him,
Yeah. Oh, one that I really wanted to watch, but it just didn't come out anywhere near me. So this, to answer your question, what's one you really want to watch, is I'm really curious about Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's actually playing near me at a cheap theater, but I'm afraid I won't get to it this week. It just came up out of nowhere.
Yeah, so that's one that I'd really like to check out, but who knows?
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's not really the same company, but I was surprised that one is actually an Orion release as well.
Yeah.
The new Orion, I should say.
Yeah, because like it got bought by it's switched hands because someone bought it and now it's kind of back-ish.
Yeah, kind of ish. I think the only one that they did that you could kind of loosely call a wide release was when they did Belko Experiment, but that was just because they had the James Gunn name going for it.
And I haven't seen Santa Claus, the John Russo movie, or Santa Claus, the Goldberg Killer Santa movie.
Yeah, the I watched because it was on streaming for years. The Goldberg one, I watched like the opening scene, which is like where all the celebrity cameos are in, and like I mean it was pretty fun. It was pretty cool, but like after that opening scene where all the celebrities get killed, I just had no interest to keep watching it. Yeah, what was that movie in the 80s? Was that the one you're talking about? There's one called like Santa Claus the Motion Picture, I think, when I was a kid in the 80s. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah. Let me just do a quick whatever. And I think it was like one of those like I think it was like Canon or somebody like that.
All right, yeah, I'm with Dudley Moore, John Lithgow.
Yeah, that one. Yep. Yeah. Santa Claus the movie.
Oh, it was the Salkinds.
Yeah, Salkinds, that's who it was. Yeah. I always thought that was kind of weird. I really like the like we make it a tradition here to watch it every Christmas morning, but I really like Nutcracker, the motion picture, the 80s version. It's like it's really just like the recording of the stage ballet, but it's a co-production between the Seattle Ballet and Maurice Sendak. So like all the designs and creatures and stuff are based on Maurice Sendak's drawings or whatever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
last year for the first time I watched the Macaulay Culkin Nutcracker. That shit is funny. He got this little like clown-headed wig on as the Nutcracker and shit. He's got like a mask that he pulls off and he starts dancing. It's awesome.
Oh, I liked Home Alone 1 and 2 a lot as a kid too.
Yeah.
I think I saw both of those in the theater.
Yeah, I remember they were big holiday releases back then.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them, but I don't think I saw them like right when they came out. I think I saw them later. But yeah, I think we kind of tapped the the nostalgia barrel on these old holiday movies.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there's more out there that we haven't seen, and we'll discover. Maybe we'll come back in another 2 years talk about those ones. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting genre. Maybe we should do a commentary for one of them eventually.
Oh, I actually did watch most of it because my daughter likes it a lot. Actually, is that Kurt Russell Christmas movie?
Oh yeah, Cool Santa.
Christmas Chronicles, but yeah, basically.
I remember when that came out. Well, not when it came out, but when the trailer came out. There's so many people on my Facebook feed who were like, "Oh yeah, Kurt Russell, he's Snake Plissken, he's Santa." I was just like, "But is it like an actual movie?" But I think it's actually, I think actually Chris Columbus made it, right?
He produced it. It's fun, but it's very like I was surprised at just how many like adults I've seen say they love it.
Yeah.
It's a fun like kids movie, but it's like it's a kids movie,
right?
Like it's a movie for little kids,
right.
Like.
And I mean, no shame in your game if you want to enjoy a small children's Christmas film because that's what the season's all about, But yeah, I was just shocked by how many adults were full force, on board with it from the get go. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. Kurt Russell, Santa Claus, Netflix.
Kurt Russell's a lot of fun in it, though.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, he'll make anything great.
Yeah.
So friends and fiends, I think we reached the conclusion of Byrd's Holiday Spectacular.
Yeah.
I want to definitely thank you, Byrd, for all the recent appearances on the show throughout 2018, of course, and obviously we'll have more planned with you.
Yeah, we got a couple more coming. Train's not stopping yet, folks.
Yeah, we got some stuff in the hopper. No use of teasing it right now because we don't want your mouths to water too much. But yeah, so everybody, if you like giant monster movies, you're going to want to head on over to the Kaiju Transmissions podcast. That's where Byrd and also our good buddy Matt is talking about all things kaiju related, films, like, you know, books, whatever, the history, interviews with different, I mean, any possible facet of the genre, you know, you can head on over there. And I'm sure you probably got a taste of it on our Gorgo commentary, so there's a whole world to discover over on Kaiju Transmissions.
The If It Bleeds archives are still live.
Nice.
I keep it going.
Nice. You keep paying that sweet lips in my...
Yeah, that sweet, like, $5 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well say it, you know, announcement here, the credit card went through, it renewed. So, with the Podbean, so the movie graveyard will be around for at least one more year.
You gotta get your money's worth.
Yeah. Right? I want to say thank you. I don't have it pulled up right now, but we got another cool review. I was a little worried, Byrd. We went like a year without having like a new written review from somebody on iTunes, and it was kind of bumming me out. It was actually like a year and a half because we came in with the show, everything was hot and heavy. We got maybe a dozen reviews, and then like the reviews stopped, and so somebody came by. I can't think of their screen name right now, but I don't think anybody who's gone on and gave us a rating and left a review on iTunes. It really helped us out a lot. Believe it or not, according to the Podbean statistics, Byrd, 60% of our downloads come from iTunes podcasts. So if you are going through iTunes, whatever, I know anytime you bring up like iTunes, people are like, well, I don't use iTunes. I don't use it. There's other ways you can get our show. We have a feed burner. We have a Podbean. We have all kinds of stuff. But considering 60% of our listeners get it through iTunes, if you want to give the Movie Graveyard a Christmas gift, go over there and leave us a review. Because the thing I like about the reviews, Byrd, is like sometimes I'll like, you know, be like, I just want to cover this movie because I like it, and I don't think anybody will listen to this episode. And then like one of the episodes that were like that was when me and Trev talked about the Chocolate War. And somebody, you know, went on and left a review and said, hey, it's, you know, these guys are covering movies like The Chocolate War that nobody else are covering. So, I mean, that's what I really like about, it's not really about, I don't need you guys to kiss our ass, but what I really like about the reviews is I find things out and I find out what you guys like about the show. And it kind of helps, you know, let me know which direction to steer things. So, if you can leave us a review, do it. Recently, we hit about 60 episodes, so there's tons of old episodes to go back and listen to. If you're already listening to all the episodes, hit the Kaiju Transmissions. Byrd, buddy, I want to thank you so much, and obviously we're in daily contact, but I don't think we'll be doing any more podcasting before the end of the year, so I just want to wish you a happy new year and a happy holiday season, everybody.
Yeah, you too, my friend.
Yeah, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever.
I celebrate Christmas. But...
Awesome. I guess you could say I celebrate Christmas.
Where are all the Hanukkah movies? And
I don't know.
Kwanzaa movies?
The only Hanukkah movie I can think of, right, is 8 Crazy Nights, the Adam Sandler one.
And
Yeah, like it's been a few years since I read up on it, but I actually read up on Kwanzaa a few years ago out of curiosity, and compared to the, you know, like Hanukkah and Christmas, it's a fairly modern holiday. I think Kwanzaa is actually really interesting, like the origins of it. So everybody hit that Kwanzaa Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
Someone make a Kwanzaa horror movie.
I would watch a Kwanzaa horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody, thank you. Wish you Happy New Year. We'll see you guys in 2019 here in the Movie Graveyard.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.
Just what you wanted for the holidays. Movies from McDonald's for your family and friends. Give them the hilarious Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Or the family favorite Babes in Toyland. Each video just $5.99 when you buy any large sandwich. Or surprise them with Dances with Wolves, the original full-length version. Unbelievably priced at only $7.99 when you buy any large sandwich during McDonald's Holiday Film Festival. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.